This is going to be organic. There are no set questions as such. But it's a conversation about you, about your career as an artist, as about your experience as somebody who has traveled extensively and you've had your education in different parts of the world. But maybe we start from your childhood. Where did you grow up? You know when you were born, where did you grow up?
I grew up at Kauna, a place here in Chicago.
Okay.
You know how people use that word, Kauna? Yeah, it's a word commonly used as Kauna.
Kauna, I know it's a game of young people. When I say Kauna, it's like, okay. Right?
Yeah. But this is the village in Pata. But my father moved to Uganda where he could grow cotton. Because Banga, Kauna were very fertile places. And he planted the cotton to turn into trees. It was very fertile, and then so, that's when we moved into Uganda.
Are you suggesting that cotton does not require very fertile ground?
Semi.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it's very fertile, then you don't get a good yield.
Don't get a good yield.
Oh, okay.
That's why my father moved.
Yes. Okay.
But that's where I was born, 1939. That village. And all the schools I attended in Chicago, Chiola, Atente, Mpumu. Before I moved to Makerere College School.
These are so many. I mean, it's like up to those days were still the days of junior school and everything and so on.
Right. You had vernacular school. Vernacular classes were from P1 to P4. We were not allowed to teach English in those classes. English came P5. And P6, you are going to sit national exam in English. That's how my friend said it was smart. That's how best we were. Because 1 year in English, and you do exam in English. It was not allowed to teach English in the vernacular. And the vernacular teachers were coming from Namutamba. That's where that's college for the vernacular teachers were.
This applies to all regions of Uganda.
Yes.
But if you come
to Uganda,
Toro, for example,
you study in your traditional language. I think we are the one to bring that aspect back in 2020.
Yeah, I think that's suggested. Yes.
Because your concepts are derived in your language. Yes. But then you are turned into English, which is not your term, your traditional or whatever. So you get mixed up when it comes to concepts, deriving concepts. Concepts are derived in your own language. Yes, and it's also almost genetic.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost genetic. Nobody teaches you Uganda.
Yeah.
And the concepts are picked up. Nobody
it
teaches
just happens.
you. Just happens as you grow.
Yeah, yeah.
Then when I came to Makerere College School, I lived with Edmond Jau from junior junior 2. Because you know, in our days, from it was not P7. P6 you sit for your national exam. Then you go to senior to junior 1 and junior 2. Then you sit for senior exams.
2 years in junior school.
Yes, if you pass, you go to senior. You don't pass, you go to J3. And after J3, then you could come to Shambo.
Oh, okay. So J3 will prepare you to go to something.
J2, you either go to senior, after J2, or you go to junior 3.
So whoever did junior 3 would have failed, or would have passed very well J2. What if I excel in J3?
You don't go to Makerere.
You still don't go to Makerere.
You go to Jambo.
Jambo was what?
A technical school, technical college. You go to study technical studies.
Like carpentry?
Like a carpentry, driving.
Bit of
hairdressing.
Hairdressing, yes. Technical things. And the academic school was for East and Central Africa.
But even within, so you went to Makerere of those days.
Yes.
You did 2 years.
Because I went from senior 4. We didn't have, my time we didn't have senior 6.
Yes.
That's why you had to spend two years to do your course. The 2 years were preliminary in the university. Yes.
And some people like Lydia Mugambi, for example, went into education.
Right.
While some of you continued on with art to the end.
Yes. And Professor Lucas had started that school of education. When he finished was it 3 years? If I go to be a teacher, then you went to the Department of Education to qualify as a teacher.
As an art teacher?
Just as a teacher.
Then you would have wasted your 2 years as doing art, because you would not benefit from art as a teacher with those 2 years in the School of Education.
Some people wanted to be teachers, to qualify as a teacher, whether you are going to teach geography or math, English, then you had that year. I forget who was the head of that after Lucas. There was an art teacher who was the head of that department. But he went through school of fine art. I don't know, and he went to Nairobi. Masenga. That was it. That was Masenga.
But I want to take you back to your early education. With your father going to different
Yes.
Besides being a farmer, he was also he practiced ancestral worship or something.
No. He went to the Second World War, Burma. When he came back, that's when he came to Banga, Kauna. He was from Bulemens. That was the area where I was brought up. When he came back from the war, Second World War, he settled in Chabu. Yes. But when I was born, a village is called Banga, which is next door, because my father had two homes, Banga and Kauna. Banga, we didn't have a school. There was no school. There was no hospital. It was really something very backward. But they were producing a lot of matoke going to Kampala. Then my mother An evangelist came to Banga and put up a church, but it was put down by university. We didn't ask even for
So
free.
you grew up as a Christian from
No, my mother, this man who was an evangelist gave my mother the Bible. But my mother, who never went to school, wanted me to go to school. So when I come back, I begin reading the Bible to her. So she took me to Chiola, her friend. And she told, you don't come back to me until you are able to read the Bible.
Right, right.
So I went to Chiola, that was P1. But that home, my hostess had a shrine, a big shrine.
Okay, yes.
And I was introduced in this shrine in the evenings. The very day I went to this home. And then around 6, the daughter of my hostess said, we go to meet the elders in the shrine. When we entered the shrine, my hostess was seated on burning coals. Yes, and was seated there very comfortably. And said to me, it should be your duty to keep this fire going. Small as I was, I said to her, my mother has brought me here to read the Bible. Of course, you don't mention the word Bible in the shrine. So this woman thundered, and spikes went from where she was sitting and almost filled the shrine. So about six people were sitting there, thought that I was a very...
Okay, you were charged with you had supernatural powers. I
was not obeying the orders. I didn't know. I was ignorant of the powers that are. And her daughter said to me, that's not my mother speaking to you. That's the God of thunder. And I said, I can tell. Because in my time, we didn't have kindergarten. We didn't have preschool. So I went to P1. I went to P1 when I was 12 years old.
Yes.
12 years old.
Yes.
So the woman said in a very deep voice like a man, if you disobey us,
yes,
when you see some drizzling, wind drizzling,
yes,
we'll kill you by lightning.
Yes, yes.
I didn't obey the orders of the goddess. I did not obey.
Right.
So one time we are going back to school from school at Shiora, and I saw some rain coming, and I realized the orders of the goddess that was going to kill me. So I separated myself from the rest of my fellow children. We were just walking, and I went around the bush because day one at the school, the headmaster came with the Bible, and he said the students had a song which they sang. Then I said, the man said, let us talk to our Father in heaven. And when I looked around, all the children had their eyes closed, and this head teacher had his eyes closed. I said, this man is talking to God and his eyes are why is his eyes closed? So my early days were days of confusion. The other time the God was telling me, threatening me with the death, to put fire in the shrine. They too, there are a group of people singing with their eyes, going to pray with their eyes closed. And at the end of all the children said, Amen. But when I saw this rain, I left I separated myself from the other children, and I went around the bush. I also knelt down to follow what the headmaster was telling us. Close your eyes and speak to your God in heaven. That was 1951. And I went around and I spoke that to God. And I've never been killed by thunder.
Right.
Even now we have the Presbyterian church. We have a church at the very place where I knelt in 1951.
Now, so you disobeyed this woman.
Yes.
You chose to follow the Bible.
And I didn't know the Bible.
Well, at least
My mother wanted me to go to school, so that when I'm able to read, I go and read the Bible to her. Yes.
So, at what stage did you feel liberated from this woman who was telling you?
At the school, you know, you learn what
Catechism or something?
the catechism.
Yeah.
We had to recite John chapter 1 at the school. So at the end of the term, I went back to Kiola, and I said, my mother said, "Are you able to read?" I said, "Yes." But I was not able to read, of course. I had the Bible in my hand, and I was reciting that John chapter 1. It wasn't because I was reading. When I came to where we stopped with that, the woman, my mother said, "Go on." And I said, "No, I'll read to you second term." Yeah, we end our first term, our first reading.
One term, one verse.
Now I think we had about almost 5 verses.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you recite this for
But your memory was very good because, you know, to be able to speak to your mom reciting those verses as if you are reading.
Mine, yeah, I'm now 12 years old. So I'm able to tell some lies.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but then that woman made an impression on you after all.
Yes.
The divine, you know.
Because she was sitting in this live course, and she was not burning, and she wasn't scared. She was sitting there by the camera.
Yeah.
And about 6 to 9 people were sitting in the shrine in the same circle.
So her stuff worked in the end.
No, it did not work.
Because how would anyone, flesh and blood, sit in hot coals and you don't get burned?
Yes.
It is inconceivable.
That's the home of Satan.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything like that.
Miraculous in the name and shape of Satan.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. We shall come to that.
Sitting or dancing in the fire,
Hey.
for witch doctors, is not anything with you.
Yeah.
Because they say some people they can do all kinds of things.
But you didn't have the capacity to conclude like that until later.
Yeah.
And you believe that actually these things are efficacious. They can actually work for those who believe in them.
Yeah, that's why when I came to the School of Fine Art, I did a thing called Mugerengejo. Mugerengejo is what makes a horn to speak. So I worked with my friend Makons. We visited a few witch doctors with him. Why? What makes a horn to speak? And that's called Mugerengejo. You go to these are taboo. They tell you that forest, when you are going to cross the road to Banga, in the forest you don't say "I am lost." If you say that word in that forest, you don't come back to the road.
You completely disappear.
Yeah, so you go to that forest and you do what is forbidden. If there's a hill, they say you don't urinate here. You go there and urinate on that hill. Those are taboo. The man told us that Mayembe are made out of 2 negatives. And he said, this way, if this is the battery, and you put a negative to a negative, you get sparks. Yes. So you put the negative on the positive, on the positive, you don't get any reaction.
When you get the energy, you get it.
But in nature, you only need to combine 2 negatives to produce something supernatural.
And you still thinking these things are still, they exist. Those who believe in them work for them.
You know, was recently reading, because we have just mentioned here about what students could concentrate on. I think students should concentrate on myths, legends, rituals, proverbs. I know one lady, I read one thesis of dissertation of a student at Makere. You know, I work as a study examiner, and she's a Bachiga, and wrote the proverbs of the Bachiga. We should have somebody writing the proverbs of the Baganda, Banyankole, Achoris. This is the meaning of the meaning of human life. Where do you get the meaning of human life? You see there are proverbs, legends, rituals, myths. Somebody should write about the Baganda legends, and another one about the Baganda rituals, another about Uganda. People have written a lot. You have some anthropologists like Levi-Strauss, who was a Frenchman. You had Levi-Strauss, Evans Pritchard, who's also an anthropologist. You have an Englishman wrote Victor Stanner wrote about the symbols of the tribe in the south. Because when I went to England, to Holland, I tried to work my dissertation on Africa and the witchcraft. And the man, I went as an expert. This man from Holland, professor, I said, when they are going to diagnose your case, the woman comes with the skin and with the shells, black, white, and red. And this is my professor said, what are those? What those symbolize in your culture? You think I knew? She's the one now has told me to read that book, symbol, full of symbols about the Ndebo. It's a tribe, written by Victor Turner. Why do you use the red, black, and red? Red, black, white. What do they stand for in your tribe? But a lot of has been written. So if we analyze these things, different students studying some of these aspects, we could get a systematic philosophy for the African people. African philosophy which was not being developed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you master also have played a very significant role in enabling you to articulate these things.
Because in Jawa, when he saw that I was very good at art, especially painting and sculpture, he said, you can come and stay with me. Yes. After Mary Stewart, there are some houses, I think they've been pulled down. So I stayed with him before he got married. Even after he got married, I still stayed with him.
He had a very famous exhibition called Let the Children
Play, which was done in the Uganda museums. We were even taken abroad.
What do you remember about that?
We used the backcloth with the charcoal and the adhesives to keep these things stuck on the back cloth. It was very popular.
But very unusual because at that time Cecil Todd was up in arms against local cultures and believed that they had a role to play in modern
Margaret?
No, Cecil Todd.
Cecil Todd?
Yeah.
I thought it was Margaret.
Margaret was the opposite actually.
Yeah.
Margaret actually was sympathetic to local life.
And it things like baskets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. But I think Cecil Todd was a bit more modern in his
But
approach.
also radical.
Radical.
In a bad way or in a good way?
Huh?
Do you think his attitude and his perceptions were good for somebody like you, for example?
But it was a challenge, and it was a good challenge.
Yeah.
You know Jonathan Kingdom, the way he took seriously doing of these animals and birds and stuff. But they wanted to take us from being local to becoming almost national and international, because art is an international language. Yes. Somebody who is very tribalistic remains local, anonymous parochial. But they wanted us to get another step, because this is a national language which you could call now being local.
So the Umgerengejo is an attempt to do what? To assert your African roots, or to become...
Why do people believe that this Jembe can actually speak, but the Jembe does not speak? I discovered afterwards. Because my Muko passed away. He stayed at Kabanga, and I went to see my aunt. So he had a big shrine which was in his house, and people would come spend nights there. So I was sitting in that shrine, this is big sitting room, and then these sparks, you know, when they might become sparks. Somebody, either intentionally, he had a torch, and I don't know why he put the torch so we could see these were Zinensimbi and Uganda, put on a stick. So when they hit each other, they produce sparks. And then you will think that the gods have entered, but there was no god who had entered. Now this man was speaking, but there was no god was speaking. My Muko was there speaking in a funny voice.
So what was Toddy's reaction to getting the because the whole thing is about local available materials, mayembe, mumbwa, all these things that are not in any measure modern materials, and we have got a modern sculpture using traditional or local materials.
Local materials. The thesis, what that man told us, that two negatives produce a spark. Two negatives. That's the concept of these witch doctors. That if you go and do something forbidden and you remain alive, that's the secret of the Mayem. Yeah, but for them, wrong or right, for them that's their conviction.
Right. Okay.
Yes, that makes them continue in that work. And for them it's a big belief that if I go and do something on this hill, and on that hill, that forest, and this forest, this is a lake and land. Those are two things not opposite to each other, but land. These opposites in life.
Right.
The witch doctors, those are very important things.
Okay. Your paintings are not much different from your sculptures either. They also deal with the same, mythical.
You know, when I went to London, yes, I stayed in a hotel, and that man Moyo had been a clergyman in Nairobi, he never spent my time in Uganda, so I was his best in the hostel. Then he knew that he came to know that I was an artist. So I was commissioned to do a panel of symbols on top of the chapel all around. Symbols that Africans associate with creation. Like when you combine this one, and you produce, and that was the theme of that painting. And when this professor, and I wrote a small brochure. So this professor from Holland, when he visited that, because he was also a Christian, and he came to this.
Where was it displayed? The work that you made, you are displaying. Where was it displayed?
It was in a hostel.
Hostel, okay.
Wimbledon. That's where our near house court, underground. And so I wrote a small brochure. What images do Africans associate with creation? It was very, very, very inspiring.
Do you have see those images?
The chapel.
The chapel still standing.
I think they moved them. They moved in another place. But this professor from Holland, when he read that, and the paintings of course were there, and he read the brochure, the images are used, and he said, "Why don't you come to Amsterdam? I'm the professor of history of art." Of course, this session, why Todd took me to that to Royal College of Art, wanted me to come back and take over his place.
Okay.
Idi Amin had proposed to me to go to Sandhurst.
Idi Amin?
Yes.
You were in conversation with Idi Amin?
Yes. Because we had a dance at the hall, and we made hearts.
Yeah.
So we say, who shall we invite? He said, why these Askaris use why don't you invite the head of this?
You made hearts out of what? Out of background?
Out of glass, what you call it? Glass. This thing you use in sculpture. Fiberglass. Yes. Okay. We made hearts. That was about for somebody for a dance in the main hall.
Okay.
And so I took a team to Buya to invite Idi Amin. Idi Amin said, "You from Makerere? You think we are here? You despise us? You think we are Askari who don't have any sense in our head?" So he said he invited us to a big dinner. And he gave.
When you say us, are you School of Fine Art or
for students, because we are representing Makerere University.
Yes.
To him,
Yes.
To him, students at Makerere were despising soldiers.
Yes.
And despising even him.
Yeah.
So he was excited, and by the way, he came to open the dance. Yes.
Where was the dance? Main hall.
Main hall, and then he invited me told me to persuade about medical students to go to England, and he took them.
For further studies?
Yeah, for further studies. To come to have doctors in the army. Then he said, for you, Kefa, and we brought a chapati. He said, when you cut a chapati like this, these are 90 degrees. Here, then you got 45. If a plane is coming to attack us, we use this angle stuff and we strike the aeroplane. So I want you to go to Sandhurst. That's where they will teach you how to aim at that whatever coming.
What attracted him to you with that you should be in the army rather than pursue an academic?
To go to Sandhurst is a big thing in the army.
Yes, it is, but you are not an army, like a corporal or something?
No, I want to become a soldier, but more concentrating on making this design for telling how soldiers to hit an aeroplane or any moving object coming to Uganda. So I told my aunt, and so people don't go anywhere near Idi Amin. So when they told me, you are very good at what that thing we write in the school. You write essays. What is it called?
Yes.
What is it called?
Faces. You mean like composition?
Yeah. What do you call it?
Yeah, essays.
Essays.
Yeah.
But there's another word for them.
Papers?
Huh?
Papers?
Papers. Yeah.
Papers, yeah, but that aspect of art history, that's part of art history.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said that I told me I'm very good at that. Why don't I go to my college? Because the external examiner came from Royal College of Art. And he appreciated my work in painting and sculpture. Including that piece that Mother Mary and the Child, which he told me that is now at Namugongo.
Yes.
He really appreciate that I had that combination. So I was offered a scholarship to go to London.
And you proceeded to London?
Yeah, I proceeded to London.
Now,
1967.
So 67, I mean, was just an army commander. I wasn't the president yet, obviously.
No, he was not a president.
So, okay, now I see.
He was not president, he was head of the army.
Yeah. So, you wrote back to Amin and said, I'm sorry, I can't.
No, he didn't write back.
Yes. You said, you didn't, just disappeared.
I disappeared. Then he had,
look for you?
4 years after, when I was at Mackay's as lecturer,
Yeah.
somebody must have told him, because I was collecting these homeless street children.
Even at that age, as old as that.
Yes,
So your passion for street children starts way back.
1971,
Okay.
when I was a lecturer at Mackay.
Yes.
Yes, and that's when I started the children's home.
Yeah, but what surprises me is that you don't share the inner experience with the street children. You yourself grew up in a stable home environment. You're not a street child. Where do you get the empathy for the street child more than anyone else?
You know, I became a Christian at the Mackay Christian Fellowship at Namirembe. So we are the first to venture
Yeah, right. So those are the...
Then the full gospel people go to church just outside college, Mackay College School. And Bikangaga, his wife was a born again Christian. This man is preaching in English, he has an interpreter. And the interpreter misleads everything he says the opposite. So Biakanga says, why don't you go and help this man? And we walk across.
Yes.
And he talks to this man, Lezer, says, I have this young man. He's very good at English. Why doesn't he come and help you? He said, thank you so much. So that's when I joined that full gospel.
Right.
Yes.
I'm still interested in Amin's story. He disappeared from Amin.
Yes. Then this man, when Amin comes here, that the food didn't fell out with him. He didn't go to Sunnyhurst. He's now preaching the gospel and has a children's home. And then what happened? Somebody found me at preaching, said, why don't you come and preach my family? was an actual man staying in Kororo. Jole Joe Kiwanuka was coming to the same, we are in the same fellowship. So I said to Jole Joe, you're a good politician, why don't you accompany me? This man was inviting me as a politician. And he works in Idi Amin's cabinet. Why don't you come escort me? So Joe said, well, we go. We should do that for the Thursday. So this man lived near American embassy. From American embassy was the home of the embassy Zake. Then the house, or Kero's house, was the next one. We went there around 4. That's the time that this man told us to go and give to his family. So we went to this house. This door was half open, but there was nobody. So we enter the sitting room. And Joe began to say, he's an uneducated man. A very rich man, educated. He doesn't know the word time. He started quarreling there with me. I said, I'm not the one who invited you. The man who invited us is not here.
Yes.
So about 30 minutes, we said, let's go back. As we walk outside, a young boy, small boy, opened that door. The door was entering the bedroom. Small, but I saw blood on his pants. And Giorgio says, oh, you are the son of Okero? I said, yes. Where is your father? I said, don't shout at the boy, because he's not the one who invited us here. Giorgio was a big man. He's the founder of this football called Express. Yes. So the boy was speechless. I said, there's something wrong. You see the blood on his pants. Why don't we help him? I had a small orphanage at Kasui. So we decided to take this child with us. After 4 days, the boys began to speak. To tell us the story how his father, mother, brothers, everybody was killed. And it was when in that bedroom there was nothing but blood on the floor. Pieces of the tongue, ears.
Which year is that? 71.
70. Yeah, you were right about 73. 73. So, Malera was Amin's main assassin. Gets to know that somebody picked up a child and went with that child. I don't know who told him it was Kefa Ssempangi. And they looked for me because I was keeping that child. And that child was an enemy of the army. Yes. No, the father of this boy, because they killed him. But I'm keeping the son of a person Malera killed. So four landovers came where we are staying to have me arrested. It was a soldier from the church who helped me to escape. Yes, because he came and said, Malera is looking for you.
So, you are, this is going on while you are, after you returned from RCA and you had completed your PhD in Amsterdam.
Yes.
And you had been
been
hired to teach at a school finally.
Yes.
So it was during that time you opened an orphanage. I opened the orphanage in 1971.
Because in Sunday school, 3 children, girls, came to Sunday school. They were very dirty and really unkempt. And they were almost married. Because I was staying on the verandas and eating from the garbage. When they entered, the boys went from this form and sat in another form. The 3 girls sat in front here. Nora, Topista, Namusisi. And I told, and they were listening. Following Sunday, they came Ask what do these children want here? I'm asking the question, last Sunday, what did we study about? No, I told I've never been inside the classroom. They are putting up their hand. But you see the big surprise? I asked them, do you go to school? Where do you stay? We live on the verandas. We're at Baku. You never been to school? No. But they can pick up with good brain. They can answer my question. So third Sunday, I took them biscuits, sweets, to persuade them to attend the class. Then the mother came, and the mother was even more unkempt than the children. So he told me the story that he came from Rwanda. They came with her husband. The man was working in people's Nsuku. After 3 years, they produced their young girl. No, the man died. And Nakafwe didn't know how to get back to Rwanda. And he didn't know how to maintain the 3 children. That's why they were staying in the veranda.
Acquired Uganda names. They know they were coming from Uganda.
Yeah, she called herself was called Nakafwe.
But actually, you were in the school as a young lecturer, back from England and from the Netherlands, 71, 73. Those are, is that the time?
71.
71.
Yes.
I mean, just taking over.
I mean, took over in 71.
71, and
yes.
Things are still hot, but you know, on the way to decay. What was that short time like as a staff in the school itself? What do you remember?
It was the general feeling among the people, because the word used in those days was disappearance. Somebody is arrested, put in a boot, you never see him again. That was the time of the beginning of the atrocities. But I'll tell you something about my art with the beggars in Kampala. I collect the beggars from back in Kade. 3 places I brought some of those beggars, because we were using that house on the Namilembe Road. Well, that's even the first place how the home were sheltered was at that place on Namilembe Road. So I brought the beggars. Some were lame, others no eye, whatever, arms, whatever, no legs, no whatever. And always spending time on the street begging. So I took them to Namilembe Road. They were about 30 or 35. And I said to them, I'm a beggar. I go to America, to Australia, to Germany, begging money to feed these children if I get from the street. But if I was in a dress like you, nobody would allow me on the aeroplane. Okay. So let us keep a bit smart and become beggars, but presentable people. And then I said to them, I gave them papers, brushes, and powder paints. I said, I want you to portray on this piece of paper the way you feel about yourself in this world. And I invited Cherine, the lady, to come and judge the best painting. Yeah, the best painting was done by a fellow from Mbale.
A beggar from Mbale.
A beggar from Mbale. He drew something round and put like a human being, like a lizard like a human being for him. And some people in Australia, that's how they portray human beings. So it was very impressive. I said to this man, this is a big, I say that's a big circle, that's the world. What was this one? That's me. The world is pressing you until you become like a lizard.
Oh, yeah.
And she thought this was the best painting. And it was bought by somebody from America. It was a big
So
concept.
that transformed that man in some way?
Yes, because he was given money.
Yeah, but also the fact that he produced something of high value and also a commodity of some sort.
And very true to himself.
Yes, yes.
And that's the way he conceived himself. And he put it right. The way he described it. He said that's me. Inside that. That's like a lizard. When the world squeezes you, it reduces you to that kind of image. And anyone should buy that penny, but it was an American saying, no, I'm buying this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you returned to work in Makerere, but it didn't last for a long time.
3 years.
And then what pushed you out?
That man I told you, Malela.
Oh,
Malela
that's
came,
the story.
Yeah, Malela came to my house.
Ah, okay.
Yes. It was a very narrow escape. I have a book called Distant Grief, where that story is also portrayed.
Ah.
Yeah, I wrote that book my last year in America. Before we went to Moshi conference in 1970.
Yes.
This was in 1978.
Yes.
And we left in 1979. Because in America we had meeting groups of people trying to remove Idi Amin, and we had an Israel group, Jewish, because the last ambassador here was a Jew, and we were trying to get to see if we can raise money to buy arms to remove Idi Amin. So that conference in Tanzania, they invited anybody who had an idea of removing Idi Amin, and our group was invited. That included Bina Isa, Members Zake, Kano Toko, and Odonkara President.
Toko was Amin's henchman.
Who?
Toko, the pilot.
But he had left this country.
Oh, he had fled.
He had fled. So we were invited to the Mosh conference.
So when you disappear, when you escape, yes, where did you go?
Want to know?
To Nairobi, to I don't know.
Because this man who died, the late speaker, Olanya, said that the best part of your story in your life. Because when I was put on a bus going to Nairobi,
You're put on a bus. You didn't put
but that soldier who told me that Malaria is coming to kill.
Yes, yes.
He put me on this bus is going to, when I read what are they called? Akamba bus. Around 6.
In the evening.
In the
In
evening.
the morning.
In the evening, going to Nairobi. We came to the border. And at the border you go, there's a small house where they check you. So all of us left the bus. I'm walking towards this small house. A tall soldier, drunk, comes near me, says, you are from Kampala? I said, yes. You have a Kenyan money? Yes. How much? 5,000.
That was a lot.
Yeah? First not 5,000, 50.
Oh. 50 shillings.
Emitwalo is 50. It's a lot of money. So you are not allowed to take more than 100 across the border. But I didn't know that. He says, you have that 50? I said, yes. Can you bring it? And I took the money and gave it to him. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and gave me this. This is you only allowed to take 100. You go back to the bus. At that time, he kicked me here. Because there were soldiers all over the place. And he said, don't mind. And he kicked me again. And I fell down. He said, don't mind.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, if I went into that little house, there was no way for me to escape.
Oh, people would not come out alive?
Because it was not about, because these people were informed, they were very informed. But by God's grace, I was able to cross the border.
You went to Kenya. A lot of Ugandans ended up in Kenya and South Africa.
Yeah, many in Kenya.
But you didn't stay in Kenya, you continued.
This lady, the wife of my professor, sent me a prepaid air ticket to Nairobi. So with 100 shillings, I stayed in a small hotel where they charged me 80,000. And I'm remaining with 20 Kenyan shillings. I now go to the airport to take flight to Holland. And then in the morning, there was a man going to Nairobi. He was sitting in that small hotel. I said, please, can you take me to the airport? He said, you are from where? I said, from Uganda. Oh, Uganda. So he drove me to the airport. This man, near our border, what are they? Which tribe is that one? Sir, this man is at the airport. These people who help you with the luggage. So I speak in Uganda. I say, oh, you are Uganda? You are my fellow whatever countryman. I said, yeah. I give him this 20 Kenyan shillings. I said, don't give me any money because you are my brother. Yes. You just go. Yeah. But I'm so ignorant. Because when that money, when I was crossing, going to the customs, you are crossing, you have to pay an airport fee. Yeah. You know how much it was? 20 Kenyan shillings. Yes.
You managed to clear that.
Now when I'm on the plane, I can see this little fool getting through the airport, the Uganda-Kenya border, and being able to pay. Because if that man took the 20 shillings, that'd be the end of it.
And you returned to your professor's place?
Yes. I don't have a visa.
Yeah. True.
That's all. The man's pledged for me for almost an hour to convince these people at the airport. Yeah. So eventually they let me enter. Now I have the man from America, the president of a seminary, is a friend of this man, this professor. He comes to see him. He tells him about this young man who was preaching in Uganda and teaching at the university. Can you get him to America and get him into a university? I am the president of the seminary. I go to America, bless him with the scholarship. He will come. In about 3 weeks, he brings all the papers with the of my being accepted at that Westminster seminary.
So in other all these things, the seminary, for example, it wasn't your deliberate choice that let me go and study to become a child minister. It was all like,
almost all planned. Now this professor takes me to the head to get a visa to go to America. And the man tells this ambassador that I'm a refugee.
Yeah. Okay.
I escaped. The man said we don't take refugees to America. Yeah. But my papers are not inviting a refugee, they're inviting a student.
Yeah.
But this man, because he told the professor said no. And he went on asking and begging, the man said no way. Until we left the embassy. They don't stop anything in my passport. Because we get to Amsterdam, that the Rex Museum, where this man used to take us for lectures, studying these Dutch paintings. So, but there's a small house near that Rex Museum where American students renew their passport to go back to America. So at that place I said to Lukman, why don't I try that house? Lukman said, are you an American? I'm not, but I want to try. What? For what? You're not an American. But then the professor said that he saw that me as a real fool.
Yeah.
He said, okay. And when for so now I know it because we had spent an hour in the Hague. And the ambassador himself told me, no, I'm not allowed in America. So I'm telling him that I go to get my visa from there. So Rook Marcus is so annoying. He leaves me there and drives. And I go to this small house. This man has these things here, or I don't know, maybe for people who check passports.
Yeah.
So I go near him. I give him my papers. And he reads. And he reads. And he goes, you have a passport? I said, yes. I thought I was going to start to put what? A no in my passport. He reads. And I don't want to say what because I don't have an American accent.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to this man.
Yes, yes.
So he reads and reads. And he stamps my passport. Have a good time in America. When I rang the professor, I said, you have a visa? Yeah, I said, no, you can. I said, I have. I can. So he said, his son, you can pick up Kefa because he's staying near line.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how I go to America.
But who receives you in America?
That professor, the one who sent me, that man, the president of the seminary.
Okay, so then you end up in the seminary and then you pursue
a theological
study,
which I passed very well.
And upon passing that, you then...
1971, I got an MD.
What's that?
A Master of Divinity.
Yeah.
And I start this Africa Foundation. We are raising money to help our friends in Kenya, because many people went to live in Kenya,
yeah,
but they were being mistreated by the Kikuyus.
Yeah. Many Ugandans escaped Uganda and ended up in Kenya, yes, where they are being mistreated.
Yes.
And you wanted to help them.
We are helping them. We are sending them money. We sent money for them to some of them become drivers. But they could not be allowed to drive in Kenya. They will send them money because they want to
But there are so many. Geographically, Kenya was very big. Why was the concentration in Chikuyu? Why not in...
Because Nairobi. First Chikuyu. We know Chikuyu are in Nairobi, and there are many Chikuyus there.
Oh.
If Uganda is put, if Uganda is putting Chako here, and Jaru is putting Chako there, that's okay. But if your neighbor here was a Chikuyu, you have Chako up to this place. If you bring Chako up here. Those Chukuyus are not, they are impossible people.
Okay, did you preach? Did you use your...
No, I went to Nairobi
after your theological course.
I had an office. We are sending money to help these people in Nairobi. And I sent about 20 Americans to come and work with the refugees. Some of them are, because many are tourists, they end up in Nairobi.
So you had a big office in America in the US?
Yes, I had a big called Africa Foundation.
Yeah.
A big office. And we were interviewing some Americans. I had 2 men from America working with me and sending missionaries to Nairobi. And the ticket for Binaisa, Wimba Zake, no talk. I'm the one who paid for their ticket to come to Moshi. My office was big.
All that time you are not...
I was visiting churches every Sunday, every other Sunday I'll be preaching, but not necessarily preaching, but telling the people in America about Idi Amin. Many people, even first church evangelist was in America. Many Americans could not believe the story.
Which state was that in America?
I was first down in Mississippi, before I moved to Virginia. Virginia, then that's where I put my own office.
And I ask this question because some states are predominant, black Americans and up north you have.
Even black Americans, for them, Idi Amin was the man of the day.
The hero.
Was a hero because some white people lifted him
Yes,
was it on a stretcher?
Yes.
And some British when he was put up a small hut in the north, and the British were kneeling down on their knees to go enter. And then the black people were saying, I mean, the one who has brought the white people to their knees. So he couldn't say anything bad about it until the Amin killed Janan Rum. That was an eye opener to many people, including Americans, that this man was evil.
So, Nyerere managed to coordinate that war that pushed it out of Uganda.
But as you know, Idi Amin said about Nyerere that if was a woman, was going to marry him. So he annoyed Nyerere.
Yes, exactly.
And Nyerere didn't want to appear to the international community that he was the one fighting Idi Amin. So that's why he was invited. And I mean, we would say the Ugandans.
Ugandan exiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those brought him to remove Idi Amin.
When in fact, behind the facade, it was
Tanzania soldiers.
Tanzania soldiers, actually.
Yes.
Oh, so then you become a politician. You are a theologian, you are an artist, a theologian, and then a politician.
Because I had studied my theology, in America, and I couldn't throw that one out. Here I had studied a children's home, which I couldn't throw out. Because when I left here, that Malera, my orphanage in Kasumu, it was disbanded. And the same children, when we started to sleep in the marketplaces, that's on these garbage dumps. Because garbage dumps at night, they are warm. So children will find warmth on those.
They sort of emit some heat.
Including Nakafel. And when I was staying in that Apollo Hotel, we were members of the National Consultative Council that took over from India. So Nakafel had on my name on the radio, and he came for me at the hotel. She was really unkempt more than before, and she made her way to the entrance of that Apollo Hotel. But we are being guarded by Tanzanian soldiers. So Nakafel appears there. And when I'm crossing over to go up, Nakafel sees me. And Nakafel wants to cross, come and meet me. So the soldiers are preventing her. And she's shouting. I had 4 escorts. But I said, please, I hear somebody shouting my name. So I said, 12 my escorts. I said, well, I can't think that's somebody. I hear somebody mentioning my name. They came back and said, a woman called Nakafel. I said, please, you got to bring the woman. Nakafel came, I couldn't believe. So she came and sat down and we're at the entrance. Now we are entering the hotel. I said, Nakafel, I'm staying on the 14th floor. Let's go. Nakafel enters the lift. And when the lift is going up, what does Nakafel do? She sits down. And then this Kibani man says, your mother is sitting down. Why? I said, because this was my mother. So I said, Nakafel, this man wants to know why I am sitting. Nakafel says, I'm not a fool. The aeroplane is going up. What's right doing my legs? So I said to the Kibani man, my mother says you are the fool because the plane is going up and you are what? The man said, your mother is very clever, let us all sit down.
Yeah, I remember coming here, it was 1990, you became MP, you became Minister of Supplies, you became
I
Minister
became a
of this.
Minister of Rehabilitation,
Yeah.
Deputy Minister of Rehabilitation. Nobody was the head man, but I was Deputy Minister
Yeah, the rehabilitation,
of Rehabilitation,
was the word at the time.
which
because
is now
Uganda
called,
had to be-
which now is called Ministry of Gender.
Oh, okay. And you also, joined, you became an MP.
Yes.
And when is this?
First, I became an MP in the National Consultative Council. Then I became an MP representing Mukono to near Mabila.
Yeah.
That was in the UPC.
And
Then we done study, divided, built more constituencies.
Yes.
Then that's when I joined. I had joined the NRA. Yes, because Museveni, we were with him at Moshi. So he invites me to go in the Rwanda. Said, what are you doing in the UPC? We were together in Moshi, we formed the government, you were a member of the National Consultative Council. I said to him, Dr. Arike said two things. In Moshi conference, he said we need to have men of substance. We shouldn't be ruled by idiosyncrasy. We must have men of substance. That's why we chose Rule. Because Rule was ahead of us in education. Second was Benai's. As you know, we moved the big motion.
Yeah, to remove it.
To remove it because we had passed this law. What is it called? Of when you appoint ministers, you bring to this committee. Like the way if you appoint Museveni takes you to Parliament to assess you. That committee was headed by a man called Paulo Angola, he lives in Minnesota. And Lule, Benais, Grace Bingira, and in Nyans, they told to Lule, once you appoint a president, members of ministers, you are the president. Who is again going to check this one? And they told him, don't allow this, that kind of. But he had already signed.
Okay.
So we debated at night, moving a motion of no confidence for almost 7 hours. Lule came with his paper with about 4 paragraphs. He was like a king. He read those 3 paragraphs and stopped there. So we say you are not serious.
Okay.
And that night we had no president, so we had to have a president. Museveni is the one who went to bring Benais. And the following day, but he had to take a flower. But the people are on the road shouting, Kutwaga Rule.
I know. I remember vaguely those stories. But okay, when is this coming back to art? Crusade or movement, or you returned to your studio at some point?
Yes.
What brought that about? Actually I came back with some oil colors, but I bought more. And I had a friend, we are in the seminary together. He went back and sent me more oil paints. I put some canvas and started it. It was for me. I wanted to get back to painting. Why?
Eh?
Why?
Because it was something to refresh my mind.
Politics had polluted you so much.
Yes.
Because it had sort of engulfed you and wanted some kind of release.
Release.
Yeah.
So that I'm a free thinker, because an artist is a free thinker. You are not imposing anything to him. Whereas in politics, after we came here with the individual merit, it was very good for me. we have to elect somebody on what he can do and what he has done. But with the return of parties, then we had we had suckers, not suckers, what are they called? It's not suckers. Caucus.
I see.
Caucus makes you really conform. You go in a meeting and you say, when you go to the plenary, this is what we have to say.
Okay.
Another member, when he says whether another person when he says something good or bad, it's bad. You are not allowed to think. And if you stand up and say anything contrary to what you agreed upon in the caucus, you are out. And I saw that as an infringement on your freedom.
So the brush was able to free you from those bondage?
Antagonists, yes, antagonists. You can sit down and draw. But as you know, oil color doesn't dry in one day. So you go, you do the same thing for a week, 2 weeks, and some paint you can even spend months.
I remember that exhibition. Do you have still have that catalog?
Yes, that's when I was studying. Yes. Some of my paintings were
yes.
Some of those paintings were so.
But
Era guno omugenzi ejira lyani omugenzi yafa. Yali bali balinono omufu yasosereko ne minisita Mengendo yani Nyanzi ne professor Senge bajja bano nga exhibition bajja ne banyambako.
And everybody clapped, and we thought you had actually seriously returned to the studio, and it's going to be for, continue for some time, but you didn't.
But then I had less staff in the foundation.
Okay.
And then that was followed by campaigning, going to Bulgaria.
Yes.
And we wasted a lot of time, a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. But okay. That said, what do you think art was? How did you use it in your political life? That background as an artist, do you think it was relevant or helped you in your perception of the politics or in implementing certain?
I had a good time to read because what makes people great is something they have done. And you have to read some personality and to see how they lived, how they survived, what made them great. And I thought that the only way to liberate your mind is through painting or artwork. Because you get absorbed. You may have a suit, by the time you finish, even your suit is made like the colors we're using. And you read it, you can read about it, people like Picasso, this man who painted the Mona Lisa. That man was a thinker. And a very good thinker, could analyze things. When we were in Holland, we visited Italy, we saw a number of paintings. That College of Art was an eye-opener. Even when I went to Holland, Professor Okuma in art history, so you could read more about artists and what they did.
Now you said you're going to go to America next month.
Yes.
To exhibit.
I'm going to give this lecture at Sacramento, but the paintings I left with my daughter in America. I'm going to take some of them.
So that means you're still active. When you find time, you actually paint.
Yes. But I find very little time now.
How do you spend your time?
Yeah?
How do you spend your time? I mean, what is consuming you, you know? Because I imagine that now, at this age, you have all the time in the world and with this.
You don't have all the time. You have so many thieves. Somebody bought about 50 acres of land.
Hey.
I'm now with the police to remove this man. His sons are now in custody. They sold.
Yeah.
And he was telling me this money has what was one Pangsa. But he sold my land to about 35 people who had to remove them. So, bakutaka ku police, bakutaka ku mugende mu court.
Yeah. Son,
Yes, please.
what do you have something to?
I'm just, I guess, but you hinted on that question, so you sort of went there.
Sure.
The effect or like particular things that might have influenced your work with the different. So from what I understand, it's through the politics that you somehow ended up going to all these different places. And from that, then you also sort of entered into theological studies, almost as an act of survival, in a way. Would you define it as that? Okay. You mentioned how some of these things you didn't mean to, but then because it needs to write circumstances, yes. You needed to write this. The letter of invitation was inviting a student. You were not a student at that point.
That was my escape to America.
Even going to Kenya
because of political what? Persecution here. That's why I ended up in America. Because the way he conceived if you had money and educated, and I had not followed his instructions to become a soldier. So he thought, but then I got involved with this child who belonged to the man, a political man they had killed. Okay. So that made my life insecure.
Okay.
Yes.
So from the time you went to Holland,
Yes.
it also was like an escape from
Yes.
Nairobi.
Yes.
So when you went, who received you in Holland?
My former professor,
An art professor.
art historian.
An artist. So did you paint? Did you sculpt while there?
When I was a student.
Yes, when you went back.
I painted. Some of my paintings are in the Free University of Amsterdam.
And this time when you went back as a refugee, did you paint?
No.
How long was that period between?
It was just a matter of 2 months in Holland.
Okay.
Then I left Holland to go to America to study theology.
So that decision to study theology was based on the fact, what was that? Why did you decide that?
I did not decide. But this man, this professor who came from America, was a friend of my professor in Holland. So my professor told him what I was doing in Uganda and how I escaped. And he provided a scholarship for me to go and take up theology. Because he wanted me to go and study, Rukma wanted me to go to study. And the master has said, I'm the professor, I'm the president of the seminary. I'm going to persuade the other to send him papers. I'm inviting him.
And also, of course, you said about the mural that you made that had symbols of African.
Africa was associated with creation. Which that paper was read by that professor in Holland, and he offered me scholarship.
So that was an important,
almost like a key trigger.
That's there's a connection between philosophy, spirituality, African something, Christianity. And I think that persuaded him to.
And Professor told wanted me to go to study art history at Gombe. A professor in England was called Gombe. But this offer in Amsterdam was a very good offer for me. And this was Brookmark was a famous historian and a friend of Francis Schaeffer, who was in philosophy.
Do you have a copy of your thesis?
Yeah.
Huh?
Your
Do you have a copy of your PhD?
That gave you a PhD.
I lost that one when I was moving from Bakuri to where the attack. It was not an attack, but my house was attacked in Bakuri. And some of my books, including that dissertation, was stolen. I have to make a special appeal to the Free University of Amsterdam. But Brookmark died and his wife died. If I went to Amsterdam, nobody knows me.
But the records would know.
The records are there.
What stage do you haven't talked about?
Even the one I wrote here in Africa, it was in African department about that it's no longer there.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. But somebody borrowed it, I don't even know how it got out.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, at that time, if you go to Entebbe, for example, government archives, they had anything. People come with money and they take originals away. And people are very
There was a professor at Makere, was it called Ojiti? There was somebody who even sold my pen.
Oh,
That was called Ojiti.
I remember chickens.
Yes, he sold some of my pen.
Sometimes families either support you and become better, or they
Before you go to family, I just wanted to ask a bit. So how long did you study theology for?
3 years.
So did you do any art in that season? Not at all. Not even in line with the theology at all. So it was after that then you returned and started to paint again.
Yeah, when I came back.
And I think I have a copy of that catalogue. If I find it.
What was the name of the exhibition?
Returning to painting.
Back to art.
Back to art. Yes.
Back to art.
Back to art.
And I'm very interested to see, because when speaking about modernism, it's always sometimes there's that very important conversation around traveling, seeing, experiencing all these different things, and sort of coming back to this context, and as if sharing your learnings in a way.
Modernism for me, it has been hindered by Western influence. Because there are things we have
has been hindered.
There are things we have ignored. That girl, I don't know where she is, the one who did the dissertation on Makina Proverbs.
Amanda.
Yeah, Amanda. Where is she?
She's now the boss.
Hey,
yes.
are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah. I did her dissertation.
Could you repeat that statement? You feel modernism has been hindered by?
By Western influence.
Just say it again,
But
sorry.
Western influence, this globalization, because we tend to go international and we forget to be national, or even where you are born. Because our local cultures are very important, but we ignore them. Those proverbs, we just overlook them. We have proverbs, we have legends, we have rituals, we have myths, and professors, people from abroad have written a lot on these things. Like that Evans Pritchard, he wrote about the Noah in Sudan. It's a huge book, and it reveals a lot of things about our cultures. That Levi Strauss has written a lot that will be using anthropology, structural anthropology. But they have written and tried to interpret who did this Evans Pritchard, what about this Noah and Sudan. Abaganda bagamba nti abaki twins, they fly. What do they mean? It's a whole 3 chapters in that book. Why do we say that twins? We don't say that twins died. You say they fly. And they have tried to be very systematic to say the African meaning is never 1-to-1. A equals B equals C. The meaning is always in the 3rd dimension. A and B, the relationship between A, B, and C. So they say that, but the white mind, the white philosophy is linear. His own perception, his own reason in this rationalism.
What in your view, modernism, what does it mean to you? How do you explain it?
Because we get international before we get national. If we had put emphasis on the things that make meaning in our life, before we jump to what makes meaning to the Americans or to the Europeans, but also they have their history, where they are coming from, how they started. For us, our stuff is there and the raw material is there.
That's why Mugerengejo is important.
It's very important.
And you describe that as typical African modernism.
African modernism. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you were trying to express yourself as a modern artist using traditional materials.
But if I went ahead to develop that thing, it would have taken me very far. Because I told you, I went to Holland as an expert on African witchcraft. And this professor asked me, why are you using these 3 colors? What do they stand for? I didn't know. And he recommended those books to me. And when I read, it made meaning. But I have developed that.
What about the sculpture? Uganda teachers thrift and loan?
That is Horizon Through Education. It was commissioned. It was commissioned by Kiseka. Kisaka. He was a teacher and a brother to this man of the Uganda Museum. My brother.
So there was some money flying around to do such work at that time?
Yes.
That was 1967?
That is 67. I did that piece in 67. And they were pushing up that building. So I got this Asian, I put the framework of tying this tying back. I said, well, this before tomorrow. And the man said, okay. You come tomorrow, the Indian has not touched it. You spend a week. At one man told me, you are dealing with an Indian. You are not dealing with a fellow artist. You tell him, if I come tomorrow and my work is not done, you'll be deported. And the Indian got so annoyed with me. I said, this thing, we should even break this thing down. But when I came the following day, he had torn it.
Oh, you constructed
the amateur.
Yeah, amateur and the wooden sort of encasing. And then it was poured.
Yeah, poured. Then you go to the next stage. Then you go until you finish.
What does it represent?
The mother and the child. The child is holding a lamp. That's it. That's what called Horizon Through Education.
Okay. What else did you do apart from that? What other work did you do during that time?
That was a year before I went to London. So that was my last piece here.
What about the one at Maisa? When they showed us
Oh, the Nisi. No, that was much earlier. and the shower.
Okay.
That
Yes,
was
again,
about
it means I can clearly see it's a reference to that community.
Yes.
So you're a very nationalistic man, right?
It was a communal because to many people a snake is a dangerous thing. But to the people in Bulgaria, it was a symbol for unity. It brought people together. If there was no rain, they collect eggs and to take it to the gods, the Sinis. And then the rain, if there's no rain, the rain will come. So it brought people together. But then when I was finishing my piece, I put wings. And the man really abused me. So where do you get wings? This is European idea. The wings in Africa, the angels in Africa have no wings. Remove them.
Who was this gentleman?
Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas commissioned me to do a painting on Jacob fighting with the And then he found that I had put wings. He said, that's European thing.
Who was Lucas?
Lucas was the people who studied at that university. He's one who started.
Holland?
No,
This is
in Makere. He's the one who started that in the Department of Education.
So you can see Muzungu making a distinction between African and the West.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I said that idea you are using is not African.
Right, and insisting that you should, as an African,
the way you conceive these things.
Yeah.
That's why the colonists were smart, saying the first 4 years, do not teach these people English. Let them have their concept, the way they should have indigenously.
But now for me that's very interesting because I ask myself, do you, I don't know, maybe because you've seen the work, what are some of the things you feel might have changed? Or that traveling, just like speaking to this lecturer and him telling you, you know, but they don't have wings, right? And that's the moment that you realize, are there certain things that you saw, and I don't know if they're evident in the work in that exhibition, coming back to art, that in a way, I wonder why that was your response. Why did you feel like the theology was so, but also the particular interest in witchcraft, you know, having studied theology, like having gone to school to understand why
And also after reading art history, because art history takes you, it makes you universal. Because then you know how people in Italy, how they conceive Italy, the Italians, or if you are going to study the Indian art, not to get these red Indians in America, or Latin America, or in Australia. Some people have gone from England to Australia, really to wash out the Australia, Aborigines, and they put their own culture there. Even some people who came to evangelize us here, they are things they destroyed to put their own. When nobody could see a man who have a Kampala, she attended to put the exhibition in America, Washington. Professors above all over the area of Canada. Natulaga nti omwana yenna azaalibwa mu nsi abeere muddugavu muyindi muki obulenzi abemuno balinamu 1 billion bazitaani obusimu obuli mu bwongo bwe 1 billion. Naye 1 billion, how do you stimulate abachina nga bali mu London balaba nga abazungu nga bakola abaana mwana nga bamuzadde bamuteka mu kibaya ne bateeka wano omuntu obuliko colors ne bateeka kuno omuntu obuliko ebide naye fwana mu Uganda ng'Abaganda fwana bibaya basumako n'entege nakuna ndege. It's a demonstration. Kakati omwana nga akozi bwati omukono endege eno nevuga n'atiga kyeno endege eno n'eno byebimu brain is wiring katwanyenye ekigere bwati endege eno nevuga n'amanya nti endege eno evuga wano yevuga nawa nevuga n'eno brain is wiring. Abazungu lwatukana ne batugamba nti tumutika ndege tukiiko baana kubanga ebyo bya devu ninga butuufu si bya devu. It's a stimulation of the child's brain. Naffe tubisuula kubanga ffe ebyaffe tubiteekawa tubisuula bbali tukwata biri batuleetedde.
Do you reconcile as a pastor these contradictions?
Oh, yeah, in a way I also wonder if that when you said something, you said painting for you is a liberation of the mind. And I wondered if in a way that exhibition, like coming back to paint, was almost like an attempt to liberate yourself from binabina biwali otegedde, you know, nga tumanyi ngeri ya biog kugamba ntandikirewa naye let me paint, maybe things will be, you know, people will see what I'm trying to say.
Abazungu bakiyita contextualization. Abazungu bakiyita contextualization. Nakatali kumulungu abaana abo amukunguudo. Pastor wange yansomisanga mu university mu America yajja. Tuyingira mu kisiba namirembe road yayambuka waggulu. Abaana bajja bangi, tulina abaana bangi. Ekisinga nekijjula. Omusajja lwatwa ku kituuti yabuulira etteeka erikwala kubakaki bayagala nkitawo naani nenyo agenda okumaliriza nga hall esikaddemu half abaana bakoze eri akyabatusa mu kyalo abakadde bakuba miggo babonereza biki ate abagamba kimwagali baki bakitamu ne bavaamu kakati omunfukana nga omusajja janga abaana abo ojja kubasobola kubanga tebagala Mukama. Naye mugamba kyosanga no sibisiko kiri engeri gyobakuttemu abaana batuuka mu maka tebasoba mu maka basoba kupasasira ate mugamba ayagala kitabu nenyiga eyali luddawo tata butamanyi gyali n'abaana tebamanyi tata wabwe gyali wadde amanyi maama wawe gyali saadi yagwako kati banaakuddayo abazungu zira lingenda okugula mu baana naye mbagamba Yesu yazaalibwa mu kiraalo awawunya kubanga kiba kyebava ewunya Yesu yazaalibwa aluka tujje mu mwalimu eri ewunya atusembezebwa abaana nabone bateryawe bati kati omuzungu alowooza mu kubanga zali muddugavu abaana bali baba bampulirize makyando nedda zisitoyi y'abaana nkwaki sigenda mumufaayo kumanya sitoyi y'omuntu oli gweyogoyoga naye omusembeza ma kubanga otegeera gyava ate gwe gyava gyatayaga ati gyomugamba ekitabu nenyo kubasanga mu ekitibu ekitabu tatali nenyo yatali
bwobanga osomesa tulize ofunye chance on the pulpit, do you bear that in mind? Do you put that into account that in as much as I'm preaching from the Bible, I'm aware that I have the African perspective, which is valid in many ways. And as I preach about salvation, I use examples that come from my African experience. Does that happen?
Nobutagenda wala nnyo nze mbadde omutakuta abazungu mali bbanga ddene omuzungu agenda nayogera ekigambo kali gwona okukyadressinga mu language abantu bategeera naye bw'otakuta litwale ekyo kyava okwogera kimeaninga kirina meaning mu bantu kubanga batebana reference point kyoyogedde kiri abstract gyebali naye ekyambazi kirike mu kyambalo ekyawa abantu bajja kuwuliriza ate bakitegeera kyobadde kyetegeeza ka contextualization kiteeke mu context bwemuli naye kugamba nti abazungu abasajja bajja nga balina ballistic missiles exactly.
Ekifaananyi ekyo ekyali mu St. Francis is it is of course figurative, there is no doubt.
Yeah.
But it's not based on anatomy and realistic observation drawing. Why? Era kuga kyekyo kyonnyonnyola nti kiteeke mu language.
Omuntu yagera okutegeera.
Yes. That was the intention, that was the idea. And I think it worked very well at that time. And I'm surprised that the generation today of the chaplain does not understand that. Yeah, is it because you are waliwo abazungu era nga bayambako oba kati there is so much obsession and radicalism but born again. I'm not trying to put you down, Sandra. I'm trying to say, how come it was appreciated then and it's not appreciated today? That image that you made, to the extent that the chaplain says,
kubanga kati nga king ayagala ekintu okusinga ekikoleddwa mu Italy. Yes, aga kino naye kino kiyinaako ttaki yona ya Africa, ekintu kya Italia kyaba Italy.
I mean, I'm trying to seek for answers. I don't know where to find them. Your work was very much in tune with the consciousness of the 60s. Now it has fallen out, as of now, and therefore it is pushed out.
Twali ne makonzo oyo mutukola omanye okugunda nga yali ku witchcraft. Twali makonzo tugenda kulukulu lwegayaza yali omusamize naye nga atereza maka atereza maka
omusamize era atereza maka
era bamuleetera enkoko kumwebaza abakazi maka gaali gafudde omwami katufuddamu tukolagana awati tugamba netuganda naye awa abakyalo ebintu byokuwa abasajja ba tumugamba ebintu ebyo kigeza kunamijinga life yani y'omusajja n'agamba kimudde wano olwokutwadde essaawa 11 omusamizi oyo anajja yasoma naye anasaya kaloje kumusikotanga kumusuubiza n'agamba nti najasuka natwa pawuda oyo tuta pawuda n'agamba mukozi yasama kidoodo nagamba kinabwe yasama natikamu naga kiki konsona doodo ddagala omusamizi atubuuza doodo ddagala olwabakyala koye omukyala mugamba singa mugamba kigenda ofumbire omwami ofune enkoko ogisale ogifumbire omwami tajja kubikola bagamba dda nga bagenda okufumbirwa byonna byebikola bagamba dda nze mugamba kati bwotikamuayo kakintu kino nowo omwami ye alowooza nti amaanyi gali muki mudoodo amaanyi tigali mudoodo gali mu nkoko bwe biri ebigezi singa mugamba kola omucungwa omwami akomyewo ogumu tajja kukikola naye mugamba teekamu kanoti owo omwami yalowooza nti kano kateekamu bikagenda okutereza mbaga naye wunya musamizi yatutegeeza ana indigenous knowledge.
Yes. So what for you when you learn this, what's your interpretation of it? Like bolaba ebintu bwebityo gwe bwotulano nobiraba what comes to mind? What's your as if
anti ekibi kyaffe kinakugamba kyebyaffe twabisuula tuyingiza ebyabalwa omukyala ajja wano ne mwezi guno gwedi babadde batugenda mu kanisa ne bawa abantu baffe eddagala babakuba empiso wiiki bibayinza okukola ku bantu 10,000 abazungu abantu ne appreciating naye nga tunakulwala wanaano covid omukyalo yajja mwezi gwa May oye omukyala abaleta abazungu abasula wano naye muzungu akati omuwala yanfumbyawo emmere nanga muzungu ono alina ekisogo alina fetish alina kiki alina oyo omuwala kyabanga fetish nti kiki kyalina akatabo kali ako kaguliini aba agenda okunaaba agenda nako abagenda mu toilet agenda nako kusaani amugenda mu kanisa ajja nako takaleka bu kati enkeera nange nengamba omusajja omukazi bamuta Beth ngaki Beth omwala wange nabbi yangambye kuwalako kyona fetish nambuza kyefaaneta nti yaguliini naseka nawe kati katabo kange konti kalimu oti lwaki otambala nako wanawali kiseera odda wano odda wali nako nakasi nambuuza wali mu Amerika emyaka emeka konsi emyaka 6 tukimanyangako eddagala lya Amerika tukozesa ligwawo omukazi abuuza emiti egivaamu eddagala mutukola eddagala biri wali mu Africa okusingira mu East Africa ate okusinga ddala Uganda nti omuti ogusingamu okuvaamu eddagala guli Karamoja bakutagamba Rebi tebuwanvu wanyobwako n'obugulu yanagambye omwana andeeteyo kukane kubanga hani wa Karamoja abakubutyo gamwarebi ate bulimu eddagala nemugamba kyate omuti okubanga ogwokubiri nanga ejirikiti nenga kya ejirikiti sirimanyi kikefolimbe ejirikiti nemukompawundiyo onse ejirikiti likolaki nagamba ate abaganda baali bagezi embwanga yafudde bayitira ku jirikiti okeera enkyange temuli kawunya mu bwongo gwe muti mukazi nangati gwe muti gwokka mu the whole world okusika gold okuyingiza muno omuti glowinga sent nemukiteeka muli kiri mu ddagala gwe muti ogwokubiri gwe mu ddagala eriwonya omuganda yakimanya empanga efudde kakati fe tulowooza batwala batwala obukoola nebakola tablets tulowooza tablets zisuperior ku habo okubanga tunaba kwatuvansinga mu habo naye habo ly'eddagala ettuufu kubanga batuleetera likomuki liri natural enders biri bikolere
biri chemicals, they are inorganic substances.
Yes.
You have to go there.
Pharmacists, bade nimugamba kibana abazungu bajja nabo bamanye emiti gy'emikya eyo industrial secrets ebyo yana kubanga voice is a secret bayingira okuyingiriza ati naye kati biri byokugambya byokutujjako abaana bafutamba piki endege butamanya endege ekolaki alafu tukozesa ignorant olusi ignorant babulira kyogera nekibadde mugamba kyate life eyaffe erimu ebyo proverbs legends myths.
So would you say that almost like your political life, your life as a Musumba, as a pastor, in a way, if you were studying it as visual artists, it could be a performance?
Democracy. Democracy is usually foreign. Democracy is foreign. Bank find out when they come here, a individual merit. About Museveni, Charity Chikola. Kakati have Mount of Yoga movement in about.
Wanga, you go to wherever with the position your movement, so position you as an individual.
You sell out. waliwo omusajja ono sali kyendowooza abazungu ebamu erya sirimu Professor abazungu ebamu.
I remember him. Okay, so I think your story is really, it has many twists and turns. It's constituted by, you being an artist, you being an Africanist, I would say, in the sense that you value and recognize the power and efficacy of African resources, be they plants, animals, fauna and flora. And the only way to, I think, Sedar Senghor was an amazing man. He was the president of Senegal. And for him, he believed that African culture had the capacity to inform and influence and enable an African to become independent by using their own life, their own environment. You harness the environment and you get what you want. And in your case, I can see that you still believe very much in our capacity as Africans to use our environment to liberate ourselves. And that is evident in your work. It makes reference to that conceptualization and art philosophy. And in as much as you have embraced Christianity from a reverend, you still have the belief that Christ is okay, but let us interpret Christ within the way we understand. Yeah,
Yes. Far-fetched.
Right. You lose nothing by, to the extent that maybe you could even Africanize Jesus visually. Because Jesus is a symbol of salvation. It's not a human being per se, but represents power from heaven. And if I have to make a connection with God through Jesus, then Jesus had better be a person I recognize and understand. I can have a rapport with. Yeah, and so a lot of what you're doing is pointing in that direction. Yes.
Mwalimu ne ba babies. Naye ba babies bakinaliko saajibwa. Sinza twagenda mu conference ya Washington. Kakati aba China n'aba Japan baana bali bintu baita mu culture yaabwe. Aba Japan n'aba China ne bakwenda kukula babadde babikola ne balaga omwana okubaza enamba zino kukundi eno kwani wenu calculator calculator sina producing figures ezo omwana wa myaka 46 nabiproducing bagenzi bashiraga kati omwana we asumukusawo naye ava obuto amazireko ne siriya ey'omukaaga bwaweika ekikebera emitima naye abakyayira babisimplifying omwana wa myaka 4 kubanga obwongo businga okukolera omwaka ogusooka mpaka myaka 6 naye maka baproducing akatabaako 8 is too late. Ebintu byonna okukolera omwana wo nga muto omwana bamuwa butoys tebagala omwana naabeere nga akoze bagamba omwana w'emyaka 7 kati mu Japan anzi kuganga nga professor okusinza ku butoyi bw'omugozi omuwa year 1, 2, 3, 4 agala okutuka ku myaka 7 nga language yakosa ya professor.
You are following in the footsteps of Elimonjao, who said that the current generation, meaning your generation, at that time,
Yes.
is what he had hope and faith in. It is untampered, untinkered by the past. It is still fresh and malleable and you know, what's the word to use?
Authentic.
Omwana omuto omumoldinga
Molding, yeah.
n'omuteeka mu kyoyagala
Yes.
abeere kubanga ali uncontaminated by the past, nti alina too much of those sijja biyita byawongo naye tugamba nti chance kati weeri okufuna aba-artist abali na kye bagamba naye nga bakijje mu mbeera gye beesanzeemu
Era gyebamanyi.
gye bamanyi in as much as balina roots in history naye ate gye balaga they are part of modern life, which modern life they are going to participate in its shaping and shaped by shaping the modern life is shaping them in as much as they are contributing in shaping as well.
Right.
You see?
Kubanga ono omuwala ono Amanda
Yes.
bwe yamala okufuna ebintu ebiri mu kitabu kye yawandiika
Yes. Yes.
birina scope empitirivu bwangu naye awo yakola.
She went ahead and did a PhD in gender, in art and gender.
Okay.
You maybe should have a word with her. Maybe she can tell you how far she took that direction. Then I think that is I think in a summary, what we are trying to grapple with. How do you contend with the yesterday and the today?
Ate kyonna bonna akataxes kubeera kubanga World Bank including Washington. World Bank is encouraging indigenous knowledge. By now, the foreign government is developing indigenous knowledge. Kubanga abantu balina knowledge yaabwe bazaaliddwa. Awo tutunawala kugikwatako. Naye tugenze mu bintu bino ebyabali. Netusoma ebitabo byabwe. Nyanga n'omuvubuka nabuuza nabwera batabani bange wano. Tulina amaka. Singa nze na university sandikuwadde diploma diguli yonna ng'ompulidde kinakusomesa. Tewali nsonga. Njankuwa diguli yange nga kinakusomesa. Ona kyokoze eki? Kyeyongeddeko. Omukomo n'abaana agenda e Yugoslavia osoma medicine. Naye nga kitabira bagamba. N'atunuulira engeri bajjamu haniya. Yeka naga lwaki sikyusaamu wano. Naye abeere baagala okole oproducinge exactly kyebakugamba tolina kyokendeezaamu. Era baali bamugobye kubanga yakyusa enkola ya haniya okujjamu okulongosa haniya. Era li bwansaba babyogosabya ne bajja abazungu abeeru ne banga omuvubuka nga mugazi tugambe kyava mu Uganda naye yasula nkasasiro esasiro referani n'amugjayo yatuwa erinnya kituufu konsi kituufu omwana yasula nkasasiro konsi kituufu amagezi ago yagajjamu nga abaana abolaba bayitibwa abayaya abaana abo bagezi naye kituleese twaga twali mutabani wasomesa abazungu bafu method eyo nyiba kikafeero method era kati bwe bamutwala gyasomesa bamuwadde sente okusinga abazungu bannaabwe kubanga tebaagala mwana okudda wano kuzuukusa mbwa zako zikoze eki zebase amuteeri.
Well, yeah, I think. Thank you so much. Why didn't tell us about your family very quickly?
Bwe mbadde mu America nzaliddeyo abaana abasukka 6. Netukomawo wano
Omukyala akusangire?
twagenda naye myezi mukunda sinasobola okukuddana bwenkwegwa kakati abaana abaleetawa buli myezi 3 nga lwoku lweyamulako ennaku binayisa baani bonna nagamba tutusaza baana bafuwa n'abazungu ne baŋŋamba naye Kefa toli minisita olw'omukaaga nga bupapula anti bwaluunika teri soda teri biki abasajja bekampala bajjanga bakanyama ne bagula opapula obwawe nabutunda wali nga naboolaba kiragamba oli minisita oba oli house somebody oba oli office messenger bino biveemu tuddeyo neŋŋamba nina abaana byonna nja kuluguuda siyinza kubalekawa nja kusigalawo ekyabanga naddayo n'abaana era efamire yange esooka erimu amerema naga zigenda kudda awo twawukana nazaga kuleka baana kubanga mwana okatwala nabo abaana twajja kuluguuda abaana kakaaga nananga amakanisa nanana project yenkoko projects nana amagi mangi tutunda enkwezo tubiisa abaana kusawuyali basajja bakulu banene family bazadde kati tuyimba mu baana basukala emitwalo 3 abavudde mu baana basajja bakulu kakati okufuna mukyalo omugondera so yina abaana 10 mukyali yagamba you cannot bring our children mu environment eno bukiseera mundu era nomukujjako muwala wange oyo muto yajje wano namujja ku airport otutuukeza tugendawa tugenda Kampala twatuka ku Kampala road nange nefuga nga agende wandege akyamanyiyo ati is a comfort yani mteganyuka bakyabana bava mu America banga bali bamanyi Uganda eri emundu yakisabuni tumujja Nairobi tutaganisanya tujja Nairobi sabuni anapa twamujjanga Nairobi oli kati biri sente nga bweziri ninga duka tebiri.
But you are not detached from them. You are
I'm not detached. You have got when you get now get on this conference.
Okay. Well, anything else?
Yeah, I'm really interested in, right now we speak a lot about performance art. It's like a new kind of art form. But it feels like you're Lambo. When you take care of the street children, it really is a response in a way. It's like the art is a channel, but so is the place to take care of children. It's also teaching, that theology. I don't know, maybe in this space specifically because you said you did an exhibition in a way. So creating space for community to exist, and in that community, in a way defining the guidelines of what that community is like, It is very powerful in a way, or you could also turn it as part of your practice. That this building, you might not think of it as an art form, but it is in a way. It is you responding to things that you've seen.
The choices and decisions
Yeah.
you're making and taking to say, okay, this structure here, this business here,
Yeah.
street children,
Me teaching.
this art,
Let me start a church.
even these chairs are.
Ate abaana basomesa kubanga nabo banga sowaani bulangiti Mufaliso n'ebitundu bagula ki? Bagula njaga. Naye n'abazungu bajjanga baali ba social workers. Embaga mmanyi nina kuwa abaana bano enjaga. Bakirwanyisa. Ate bwe zijja omwana ku luguudo ngamba onywa obuti bumeka nkibona oli ku ssente meka nti 10,000. Byakusevinga bulangiti yaabyo. Kandemuwa 5 nagulayo ka lemon. Nga bamala okunywa enjaga siga kuno ki lemon omuntu bwakuwunyako bwati ali mukuwunya kyokola ki kyonyodde abaana ne baagala naye nsevinga ki mufaliso gwange ati twalinanga wano ebintu bingi twalinanga wano engatto obugaali biki manjala engatto onsi bwosomayo sabbiiti wadde mu ssomero nkuwaki omwana agenda mu ssomero ekyali tagenze okusoma okufuna ngatto ze omulala nayagala akagaali kasomalako ttamu obadde otalukootwa nobanga gwosembi abaana ne basoma naye ekibasomesa sibagamusoma naye ttamu egenda okuggwako ngate musomero afunyewo ki mikwano gye nekyokusula mufaliso kigenze kimunyumira okusinga okukasasiro transformation egenze nabo abaana ne babakozi bangi.
That is art, you know. It's just that we don't define it as. But that is art. It's like you understand the system, so you hack the system.
Yeah, you have
with actions.
That's right.
You know, and if you go to study Hua, there's like a different, as you say, contemporaries, they will write about them, you know, because they act, you know. Like currently, a lot of climate activists are going to galleries and they paint red on big, you know, the renowned paintings, right? To get attention of people and tell them, like, you know, but they as if go and play into the situation and make their message known.
Nominal painting.
Nominal.
Yali period. Kakati nosanga blackboard okusinga ebifaananyi nga yona eri white naye wano kati waliwo bagamba kyente zibadde wano nezigenze banga ati aluddawa ati aluddawa nomugundi muno nofenseko.
We were reading about a lecturer, I don't know if you heard about him, it's called Caricature. Agenda kuja in November. He's Ghanaian. And he's trained a lot of the artists kati bevogerako kati bava Ghana, many of them. He's also very interested in indigenous knowledges, but critiquing the fact that, you know, we had been taught what's a paintbrush, where should you show your work? Instead of telling people exhibition is making the work public, you tell them it's exhibition. This is how it's done. So natandika okukola ebintu mu ssomero eryo naye ng'amanyi system. At, for example, yamanya nti I need to become the head of the art school to bring any change. So he worked hard, got to become the head. Then he kept all the courses. Nga bw'osoma what? Zirabikanga course z'omanyi naye nga munda buli kimu akikyusiza. So then he would tell the students, it's a painting class, but we are not going to paint. I want you to go paint the city with material, like you get there, put up work somewhere, I don't know, use the university. We are not sitting in a class, like things like that. Nagenda, nafi David, nachuseri nyaje na jacket ya mapistayo. Nali timba msolo la kama temumpitanga. Kati amanya ganigegano, so you can't, and then he put a rule, he doesn't travel to Europe. He says they'll come and look for me. So he doesn't ever. And even when you try to find the internet things about him, you won't find it. But his students say some artists make work, there are other artists that create artists, and that's their work, you know. So it's very interesting to hear that in a way you're reproducing your thought process by hacking a system, you know. So that is your practice. It's so powerful. I think it would be so nice for someone to write about that part, because maybe you think that you stopped practicing, you stopped painting. But you're painting, you're painting people, you are painting thoughts
in other words,
and ideas.
the painting that we understand as painting is taking a brush and a canvas. When in fact, all those things that you have been doing can be characterized as painting without necessarily a paintbrush in your hand.
You're right.
You know?
Right.
But creating an impression and an impact in people's lives, transforming them and giving them hope and new possibilities. That a painting that you hang in somewhere does to anyone. So yours are intangible paintings. That one is a tangible painting.
You know, yours are the white, they're nominal. So you could in this current and you can back it up because I think that is sometimes what happens, that sometimes right now with the current art that's being made, Olina take a now sticking at a tape, people are looking for that way of thinking, but they have not found a way to actualize it, and they are trying to compartmentalize it into, no, but this is what I know. Why are you doing that? You know? So that's very, very interesting. It's, it's also in our journey of define, you know what is, right? It's interesting that is a form of modernism. You are practicing. Even now you're practicing. Even with this space you're practicing. With the children you're practicing. You know? I wonder if you thought about it as a fact that you are practicing. But it's so interesting.
I think in our content that we are writing, we are going to redefine art. You know, as a physical engagement to expand it beyond that.
Kubanga abapolisi balina emboko, abasirikale balina emboko. Sasa komiti yana amatika gaayo. Abaana basigala ku ntebe. Niyo abakyajja abaana ku ntebe. Yali mukira kitwale mu yali emboko twali kubona. Ayi naje nakubuulira idadi. Nanywanga buna.
Wow. So in other words, you are, wow. You should consider exhibiting that. I'm going to share just a thought, but to leave you with it. There's an artist. Because one of the popular session now got you artist. This is just an example, it's not dealing with, but I'm just sharing interesting ways artists are thinking. And for you to also just look into your own practice right now. Because you're practicing, you've never stopped practicing. That's what it's showing. But he wanted to share about the grief of losing a loved one. So Chabayebuza and in a gallery, you know. Nagaman sharing and Chavaleta, sweet and mingy, Naziwa Musenda gallery, like a mountain. And through the course of the exhibition, people would pick a sweet and go. So at the end of the exhibition, there were no more sweets. Katinga, Ageza Kukaman, their relationship was like a sweet, that was what it was for him. But over a period of time, he has remained without. And that was the one. So it is it is also very interesting that maybe a thing that I'm hearing is that, I don't know if you see it, but you are transcending media. You know, like how we define, like what we say, that the painting is a brush. In a way, your practice has transcended.
You are stepping out of the conventions.
You have. It's not
and expanding your practice, which till now you didn't think was a practice.
Yeah.
But which really is a practice.
Very much so.
When someone asks you, are you still practicing? A quick answer would be say no. When actually the answer should be yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
And this is how I'm practicing. I'm not making objects that you are going to wander around and sell, but I am using my my life and my experience and my interaction with people in guiding them and giving them information that in the end, takes them into different, it shows them different options and possibilities.
Transform.
Yes. So I think that way indeed. And I think
this one here,
yes. Yes, he has been doing those things. Yes.
Why does Dr. call you?
Hey, I think that
where is this place you're giving a talk? Sacramento?
Yes, the city, Bangali, capital city of California.
Yes, I've seen
Sacramento.
Is it a gallery? It's a government thing? Is it as a political?
It's about North Atlantic Presbyterian Synod. Kaika abantu yakube bini tuswaswa kugenda naye bajja kukiriza olubuuza abantu ekumisa kugenda.
Chiba muchiti church, like it's a conference.
Presbyterian.
I
think it's a church. Wow. You grew up as an Anglican goer. You used to go to in other words, you were raised as a Protestant.
Yes.
Circumstances, took you to new directions. And for you to become Presbyterian, it wasn't because of choice, but circumstances. And when you went there, you stayed as if you converted to a new religion, which religion was not because you reflected and thought this was better than the other, but because someone offered you scholarship to study theology. So in other words, don't you think you are you're dishonest by abandoning your childhood faith and getting into new things that because there was a characteristic.
Oh, my God,
Yes.
When we full gospel Pentecostals. We were university. When we in America, systematic theory. When we come out, pastors and number 10 Usata, nga bajja bana bakalisa mu Kampala bakayanyi olunyono lwemakerere kaliwo bakayiwa lukinye eyalutuyakola kaati mbagamba nti kutubuulira enjiri ekyawandiikibwa wekiri kiri mu Makko essula 16 olunyiri lwabiri lugamba nti bali abayigirizwa ba Yesu ne bagenda okubuulira Katonda ng'akolaganira wamu nabo, confirming the word, his word with signs. Confirming his word with signs. Nibagamba gano obuulira enjiri n'osabira abantu naye si gwowonya abantu era n'erinnya lya Yesu lirina obuyinza okusinga bwabuulira kubanga lirina obuyinza si gwowonya abantu ekyoyogedde Mukama yakola ki yakikonfaminga kyalikozesa embagamba embagamba bwetyo mba ndulusinga omulimu gwange era abapasitale bavo ne bagenda nebamanyi ne bakola ebyamagero bagamba nti osiga okola ebyamagero bikolebwani bikolebwa Katonda ng'akonfaminga kiri kyova okubuulira abantu nekifuna separation abo nebadde tebakola ebyabo.
May I say that, on the other hand, when the pastor, people, Pentecostals, on the other hand, you understand why they walk away from the churches where they were raised. One of them, there's a reverend in an Anglican church. The local diocese, Novera, in a certain parish, and you go and during the sermon say, your voice as an individual is very muffled by the most reverend Kazimba, for example, will not let you shine more than him.
I think I to a reverend.
The
most reverend. The most right.
I have my own following, my own terms and conditions, and I will do things the way I want. And the Kazimba will not have any influence on me. Whereas in fact, Sigana Movie, number day one, see, they are changing the people like all those would not be big stars if they had remained in their, churches. Noleka kati bw'avaamu n'asika crowds n'afuuka bunyini ekyaki kyandisobose singa asigalayo eri. In fact, that's one of the reasons people start their own churches, to become independent and to become I think this has been very revealing. Yeah, and we are going to, what I have to do is to, again, those archives, I'm still very interested. We need images, we need pictures. Yeah. Definitely need pictures, and those pictures we are going to tell us where to find it. Yes.
Suubi okusigaza akola suubi kubanga eri suubi oda suubi yanabwa suubi yangambye okujja abaana ku njaga bazipati ogo ati.
If you could actually find a way to articulate that in a gallery setting, because when you say you're going to talk, is you could, sometimes also one of the things we've seen is that in this conversation around modernism, there's a big gap between your generation, yes, and ours, because we don't have conversations like this. But it would be interesting for someone to show that work in a gallery setting. Yeah, and you use Njaga. I don't know, it's a thought process, but you actually exhibit those things and you think through, I don't know, people, that same exact feeling you would have. And you could have you could bring people now, like practicing artists now, and have an exhibition on that part of your practice that you might not consider painting, and see how they would interpret it.
The medicine man who gave a
Kadodo. Yes. And this place, so for me, Katimina Church Jengendam, right, worship harvest. And I feel like when you said that, I thought about it and I was thinking, it is the things they're teaching marriage now. It's just, I think because of this, that thing of discipleship, in other words, a relationship so it would also be very interesting to hear what are people's dodo, what's dodo in Muslim culture, in Muslim, practice. What's dodo for the Catholics? Because for the which in indigenous knowledge, they will use the leaf, but you go put it in the chicken. So in a way you're still cooking. Well, as Protestants, your direct disciple, katugambe omuntu atambula naawe bw'olabyenga obulamu bwe bukola akubulira n'obeera nga olina wewateeka mu mutima gwe engeri y'okumuwuliriza dodo ekintu ekyo tekisobola kidescribing. It's like trust, right? For some people, like if you say kakande, him is the dodo, when he says Sumba kanzije nkubulire omanye ekizibu kyange nakala kati genda okole bwoti eyo yeki. It was that dodo was a conversation.
Right? Isn't everything spiritual? Whether Muhammad so is it not a dodo thing?
That would be an interesting conversation.
It's a dodo thing.
And dodo is that, but you see, it's like a hack on spirituality because you're using the dodo we understand, but you're making a comment on all the things we believe.
You are shaking our beliefs.
Yes. So it also made me think, Uganda or talk West. Use your art. Think of like a performance, and you can think of it with. You can say, get an opportunity to know. I'm speaking to 2,000 people. I want to make a performance, and that performance is going to be like it's right in line with what it's like hacking the system, because somehow the doors have opened for you in these places. It's just the way you're speaking about them and how you articulate them that sort of can be presented in, let me say, visual art setting.
Professor of Magano Mukwano Francis Schaeffer.
Yes.
Kani ngana comments zako. Girlfriend and boyfriend. Bagenda mu exhibition ya nominal art. What you know, everyone. Ate bobashi mwatono bashipesho zake nyumba banjikwa kubanga mutu ente kibadwa nze kugonde kibazigeze kikugamba nti eya kama ki influence ku bantu abana bakafuma akwebwa kwa kulowooza from kibalabye
everything has a limit. You can only take it so far. Kubanga, what if you are an instructor training students to be serious people, serious artists who produce stuff? You can't go on telling people they won't be
everything is subjective. Because also that's some of the danger of them teaching in this context. Because sometimes they're still on you must make. I'll give my example. I did my master's at Makerere and I was studying Gaba landing site. And most times in my bachelor's, that had to go to the Gambera de Waka Muji. I think at one point you came up to that guy. They came up to where I was working because they said Bulisa or Jairit Badna. But because working with the plastic, Darina Kazula Karina Basolo Bukolam arts. My God, Gansule Yo Gandia, because that was the research. But at Gaba landing site, I was studying the social dynamics. Some of the sculptures I made were out of fish skin, fish scales. At some point, Nagena Nenzjaya Agama to Bagas because Nagasanga, Navagale say, you know, that the water hyacinth was growing in them. It was like an art piece. I was like, this is an art piece. It can be a found sculpture. But the lecturers were telling me, why aren't you making? I'm like, but I am making. But you're judging me on some thing. Eh? Then I was reading other people's masters and they finish in the US and they have one piece after 2 years. And I was asking, how do you decide what you're marking? Because this is very dangerous. What is your system of? So that time there was a dean of the university and it was, he used to think I'm not working. And as a student, I'm like, I'm working, you know? So at the end I make this piece and it was out of the school. And that was the first time that a piece has been made out of the school. But now I got too much cedar because it didn't work in the context though. You know it. So in a way, it's also a critique on each of our practices. That what are we having conversations between these generations? And as we try to find what it is we are doing, the irony of that is that this they fill that gap and they do what they did to that doctor who found honey. You know? They take you and contextualize. And then in a way that also is a prison because you can't leave, you're indebted. There's a work that I'm doing that is showing right now in Liverpool. And that piece, one of the guiding statements was, I think it was Obote's speech at Independence. And it was first hour, what is this? And he was telling people to be indebted, Ugandans, be indebted because they've allowed us to use our land, to run it. Oh, I was like, really? So you know, the wording, right? It's like this thing we are in that sometimes is disturbed by the fact that we are not talking. We are not talking.
Speak, discover, deny.
Wow. And yet there are people, Ola Katinge Gaba, Walio Mambabita Mami Gabda, Smanio Vajalam, Yavade LC one way Gaba, Okuba President Museno Bingatana, we are Ingira, Paganekati, Namsa, Mubaying, and I saw a few minutes of Gaba war, but he has a story of Gaba. That Gaba was named Gaba because of this African princess who used to come. Nga bisawa janga abavuzi bamutegekera ebyennyanja alondeko byayagala naye nga tasobola bitwala byonna so kati abantu bajja ne balinda naye kubanga ebirala abigaba. But then ironically now Gaba is the main water supplier to the whole city. It is also the main fish supplier to the whole city. Naye bw'ogenda Gaba omanyira Uganda mpava bw'ogaba ng'ejjenje tokyasanga ekifo kiyinza okuggwa. So abatwala amazzi batutte naye balekawo. And it's the government doing that. Abatutte ebyennyanja batutte naye bw'ojja n'olaba ebyennyanja ebivudde. When it rains, flooding. So when people are coming to speak to people at Gaba, they start from Gaba, Temufayo. But fishermen are naturally people that never stay in a place. They are always moving. So it's not their responsibility to take care of the landing site. In fact, it's not in their culture. But how do you... I think fishermen nga buli bwaleeta akaka akakoma alaba naye maama oba waali kazizaayo. But he was making a good point. Nagamba omanyi kyekitegeeza okuva ewaka nga tebulina ssente n'ogamba omukyala teekako amazzi nkomawo ate bw'ogenda okwata eryato lyo n'ogenda mu mazzi n'ogyamu ebiganja 3 otundako 2 n'ogula akawunga ekirala n'okizaayo eka kati aba ataddeko wamalira
ng'oba privilege za art okusomesa omwana wo art bwayimirira awo tayagala kuba kujja kukola kubanga mandi ekurieti mandi eba etambula ojja kusanga wentyala anakyaproduce naye bino nasoma gundi static n'abimirira awo n'amala emyezi 4 ali mu Kampala anoonya mulimu.
Kyoyanziza nnyo.
Seriously, tulina obulamu obwongo bwaffe bulina okugaziwa. Bulina okugaziwa. Kubanga omukyala yava mu UNESCO yagamba atya as a agency produce documentation that agency anabwe yakiyita ngaba nga wali society yaffe kyemisinga ate nga bali bakyala
bakiyita kubanga we have been told that our culture in the broad sense of it, it is retrogressive to be considering it seriously. Obanga takoze progress. Birekeye ebintu ebitatukana n'ebipya epya biriwa bina muzungu byabise. And so on. So then we believe them. And the other day, he was saying, even in this English that we talk about, it's good that people who can talk to one, then you master your language before you start.
You master your language. Back of perception
at the moment,
language.
You speak bit of English and bit of Uganda, so you are not mastering any of the two. So where are you?
Where are you? Abazungu basudde ababiri.
Yes.
Banza okwogera emboozi notabakutojja.
Exactly.
Like as if tennis around you, especially Americans. They talk to not be understood. So you just live with the idea of tennis. Can you see that in the it must be wise.
No matter mutakusi
akatabo kange akakadistant police bambuuza na ghost writer kubanga toli muzo perception zo zirimu tezimu olwo nofuna omuntu oluzungu yazabanga oluzungu olulimi lwe to do wise things for kubanga bwonyinza okukola sente tutegerere nga mbutu tukitegerere so nga ate muzungu munaku bwaba akyogera tukikwata mangu nnyo kubanga ayinamu audience ayinamu biki ayinamu byakozesa ebitwa mangu nnyo okutegeera ebyo talina kubanga tuwazaalibwa bulizongo olwokuba ni ghost writer naye bwako okubeera nakona na ghost writer oyogera ekigambo yo omusungu n'amanya kyali audience yaffe okukitegeera kino kukyogera bwoti
kugamba buli community erina ebintu byayo English word esoteric community nti mulimu codes nyingi nti community eyo yokka
Even in the
webanga yesobola okumanya conversation bwebanga oba outside that community you cannot
translate.
So that you're using common language sometimes. Naye the word combinations closes you off around that you are not part of that community.
But it can also, I guess it's also two-way. It can be a block, but it can also be a technique. I was reading there's a book the book on condition is colonialism. And this young lady, she's a PhD now, she's a doctor, but she's like 25. Naye yakozesa, omanyi we talking about social media. Na ye footnotes za paper ye, watu bwayogera. So when people read her, they are amazed. But she uses it as a tactic. She said, I'm very aware who is my audience. And I wanted them to be able to read this and understand it in their own way. So when I say this thing, I put a footnote. Can you imagine what is Ayogeranga? Like you literally are interfacing with her as she reads. And even when she gives papers, she talks. She talks in a way that you're just like, wow. And she's intentionally saying, I want to have that system. I want to, I'm speaking so they understand today. Naita indigenous people, because pollution and colonialism, it becomes about land relations, it becomes a lot of things. But Nagamanti like an Indian, red Indian. Did you want me to understand it? And for the first time, she had not seen that even as she chose to speak to these people, she cut out these other people. And it's a thing she embraces and says, actually, that's where my thesis failed or didn't fail. But I saw that you can never speak for everybody. She hacks the system by doing funny things like, Amaninti, Sente Wazija. Because I got PhD. Naye agamba bwenzija bwengenda okukola n'abantu mu community ngenda mmanyi era mbagamba nti ekituufu kiri nti nze zayina sente era njagala mundabe bwe mutyo nga bwogamba nti kwata enjaga okitekira tetugenda kirwanisa ekyokubeera nti njagala balaga mpaagala nnyo nzize kola naye mmwe mumanyi ebintu. So nagenda bagamba sigenda kuleeta students manya mujja USA simanya mulete bwemba nsasula obulungi so that mwe mukola ki kyengenda okukola ngenda kuwa sente naye njagala omanye nti nze bwegamba no hiding, let's be open, because she says one of the answers to fighting pollution is good relations, and it's not tangible. You can't chiva in the goodness of a person to understand the structure, the power dynamics, and to agree that nze nga nze sigenda tugenda kukolagana, but I mean
naye genda mwame kumala emyaka okumewa obuye muganda nga bwogerawo ojja kuyamu obigambo nga bakulese mulimu nga tujjaga okujjamu bwabya yakiri na bwongo bwo nga bagikozesa awo nolatagimanyi.
Okay.